This is the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. I'm Ty Higgins. You smell that? Corn dogs, elephant ears, the Trojan burger at the Hartford Fair. Some of my favorite things as I travel the state during county fair season. Paulding County Fair getting ready to kick off, the very first one across the state here later on this week. And with that comes live harness racing. To talk about the harness racing season at county fairs, Renee Mancino joins us, Executive Director of the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association. Renee, great to see you again. Welcome back.
Good to see you too, Ty. Thank you for having me as usual. Always love being a guest on your show and never miss the opportunity to talk racing, that's for sure.
A lot to talk about, too. I mentioned that we're going to be getting into the racing season here later on this week. The county fair is obviously getting prepared, but as the OHSAA, what are you guys doing there at headquarters to get ready for the season?
So for us to get ready for the season, it's all about what essentially you do every day, and that's digital media, live stream broadcasts. We do a podcast that talks about the up and coming youngsters that will be racing soon as 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. We highlight a lot of what's going on in anticipation of the fairs. We have an entire, it's called matinee fair racing at the fairgrounds locations in advance, even of county fair racing. So these matinee races are things that we have that we see where the young and up and comers are getting ready, 2-year-olds especially, starting to go practice miles in anticipation of finally being able to make their start here in Ohio, which isn't until July 4th weekend. Generally 2-year-olds start racing. So we call that Matinee Madness. You can find Matinee Madness on our harnessracingohio.com site. And we have them this year. We have them at Mercer County, and we have them at Fayette County, Champaign County, and Crawford County, and Darke County. We have Greenville as well. So generally one of those 5 locations throughout the next, Saturday, Sunday, weekend of the month. You can check our website for the schedule. You can go sit down, tailgate, have a picnic. We have a lot of people that do that for matinees, and then just enjoy watching the little 2-year-olds, going through their paces on, sub racing speeds. It's all what we call training miles. They're very careful with the youngsters, but they do have to learn how to do it. So that's what we're doing inside horse racing and here inside the office.
So that's at HQ. Inside the barns, as we get ready for the racing season, what are the owners and the jockeys and the athletes themselves doing to prepare?
They're trying to weed through, if you will, their stock and figure out what level of racing each of them are going to be appropriate for, because much like, human athletes, not everyone is, the epitome of the top echelon in the sport. You're going to have, just like with human athletics, you're going to have probably 10 or 15% that are going to, they're going to function at the top level of the sport. And then Ohio is unique in that we have 3 tiers. It would be, single A, double A, triple A, essentially to be analogous to baseball. Our single A division would be the Ohio Sire Stakes. Our double A division would be the Buckeye Stallion Series. And our triple A division would be the Ohio County Fair Racing Circuit. And so horsemen, generally speaking, are looking at who to put where, because you basically nominate or you opt into these tiers in advance by March 15th. And so they have to have a pretty good idea by March 15th in any given racing year of where they think they're going to go. So that's essentially what they're doing in the barns, in addition to conditioning and bringing along the young horses, like I said, with the matinee racing that they've been doing. Standardbreds tend to be in training for their 2-year-old year from November, December of the year prior. So when they turn 2 in January, they are ready to, start looking towards their July racing season. It's a very long, slow, muscle building, bone building, sort of, in some cases, tedious process. You do have a lot of upfront work that's put into these young horses to put them into the position to where they're healthy and sound, and they've got the bone density and the muscle mass to be able to carry them. And, it's much like a marathoner would train for a standard bred. So that's what's going on in the barns in anticipation of county fair racing season.
You and I have talked quite a bit in the past about what your industry means for Ohio agriculture, but I want to talk about what it means to have harness racing at the county fair. I mentioned the experience of it all, of having harness racing there, live action at the county fair level. What does it mean to the county fair's bottom line to bring in harness racing during their week during the summer?
So county fairs, first of all, Ohio is the largest and most successful county fair standardbred racing program in North America. There is no state that comes close to our 67 county and independent fair locations that race. None. We have, believe it or not, we have over 1,000 stakes races for 2- and 3-year-old young horses at the county fairs, at those 67 county fairs. Generally speaking, we have about 140 live days, independent days. But what it means for the bottom line for a fair are quite a few things. One is we essentially advertise, market, and promote for the fair in anticipation of that county fair racing. We don't just advertise and market for the fair racing program. We do it for the fair, for the county, for historical figures in the county. So we're placing radio ads, we're doing digital billboard, search engine optimization, publications, different things in the rural areas to get to people that would be interested in coming to the fair. And we're hopeful that they're going to come to the races. So we fund all of that. We fund the racing program itself. So the funding is 100% promoter, meaning us, essentially picked up. And to the tune, I will say, you know, for example, last year to the tune of $7.5 million.
Wow.
Yeah, this year we're just above 8.2 million. So, and that's not just in the racing program itself, but we also have a capital improvement grant program that we do for the county fairs that race. And then we also have signature fair races. So when you see the Little Brown Jug at Delaware, Ohio, we're a sponsor on that. So with everything all in for 2024, you know, the 67 racing fairs will go for 8.2 million, just a little bit above that. So it's a huge business, you know, and it's agribusiness. It's the county fairs. We race at the Ohio State Fair, but that is hosted at Scioto Downs. But the Ohio Exposition Commission is the sponsor on those. And, you know, generally speaking, we try to involve some member of legislature because one of the races from long ago is the Governor's Cup, for example, that's hosted at Scioto Downs from the Ohio State Fair. So outside of the impact for the fair and the promoter covering all the costs of operation for the fair, it's our goal for the fairs and the fair system to have them able to take advantage of the gate, that increasing gate, the vendors and the increase in what they sell. And I will tell you, my horsemen probably consume just as much as any fair participant, if not more. A lot of my horsemen, it's a family endeavor. They'll have their kids with them. They're buying ride tickets. So even my horsemen are participating in the, you know, economy. They don't just ship in and ship out. That isn't what happens, I can tell you. Generally speaking, it's a 4-hour to 6-hour day for them on the fairgrounds location. So the gate, you know, anything that they make from pari-mutuel wagering the fair is profit for them. If they're charging admission to the grandstands, we don't have a lot that do that anymore, but there are some. Any sponsorship dollars that they are able to obtain in conjunction excuse me, with the fair, all of that is stuff that will go back to the county and the county fair. So we're hopeful that being able to offer, in some cases, obviously Delaware County races 5 live days, but on average, we have 1 or 2 days where you have an event for the fair that's going to be free cost-wise and expense-wise for the fair board, and then you can just profit off of it. So that's essentially what racing means to the county fairs in Ohio.
Horsemen working with farmers all across the state and supporting county fairs, and it all culminates into a stronger Ohio agriculture community thanks to the great work of the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association and their executive director, Renee Mancino. Thanks again for joining us. Always great to see you.
Thank you, Ty. As always, very happy to come on and speak with you. And, to you and all your viewers, we hope you have a wonderful 2024 fair season.
Can't wait.
Find out how Nationwide Agribusiness can help you grow your business. Get to know the people with the experience and knowledge to help you. Whether you are looking to protect your farm or ranch from the ground up, or need someone who understands your changing commercial ag needs. Find out how to better manage the risks of your ag business, or how quickly you can get back to business. Learn how you can protect your next with Nationwide on your side.
Who feeds your need for new ideas for your family's best farm future? Ohio Farm Bureau. We work with our members to shape ag policy that will positively impact our industry. Farm Bureau is advancing business solutions to give you a competitive advantage. We help you gather information to stay ahead of important topics and technologies. Plus, Ohio Farm Bureau creates opportunities for growth. Ohio Farm Bureau, feeding your need for new ideas.
A new license is available to farmers to use in their direct marketing business. I'm Ty Higgins, and this is Legal with Leah. Joining us, Leah Curtis, Policy Counsel for Ohio Farm Bureau. Always great to see you.
Always good to be with you, Ty.
So let's start here. What are the licenses we're talking about, and why would you need one?
So the type of license we're talking about is a retail food establishment license. Sometimes people call this an RFE license. And these are required to sell food directly to consumers, sort of if you think of like a grocery store situation. So there are different subtypes of the RFE license, like a temporary license or a mobile license. And a mobile RFE is what we commonly see farmers use when they participate in farmers markets to sell their products. They do get that license in their home location through their home county and the health department, but then they can use that to operate really throughout the state with that mobile retail food establishment license.
Now, before we get too far, we want to remind everyone there are lots of things farmers can sell at a farm or farmer's market, and they don't need this type of license, right?
Yeah, so I don't want anybody to get too worried that, they've been doing this without a license. You can always sell your fresh and unprocessed fruits and vegetables, cottage foods, and then there's some limits, but you can sell some prepackaged foods as well at a farm market or your farmer's market, and you don't need to have one of these licenses. Where we do see these licenses become necessary is where farmers typically are selling products like eggs or meat from their livestock. Those products need what we call time and temperature control to be safely stored, and so that creates that need for that RFE license.
So what is this new license?
So the new license is going to be a low risk mobile retail food establishment license. So where before we had just the mobile license in general, anybody that was in that situation would get that license. Now they have created two risk categories that will recognize that there are different types of food that someone might be selling. And so a low risk license will be applicable and available to those that are selling things like their meat and their eggs from their own farm.
And why is having this new license helpful to farmers who direct market?
So there's a few reasons. First is the cost. The cost is in part always related to the risk level, and because higher risk levels usually take, more inspection, more oversight. So this change is going to represent a lower cost option for farmers who are limiting to those lower risk products. And then second, the license is going to specify that these license holders can use non-mechanical refrigeration for their products, like a cooler with ice, when you have that low risk license. And that's been a big issue in the last couple years.
Yeah, that issue of refrigeration has been something that's popped up with our members for a while now.
Yeah, so there has been guidance for a few years that non-mechanical refrigeration could be used in certain circumstances, but because these licenses are issued locally, they're overseen by local inspectors and local health departments, there were different interpretations across the state. Now, we are very lucky at Farm Bureau and for our members too, that we have a great relationship with the Department of Agriculture who oversees these rules. And they've been able to help us address these issues as they popped up individually, but this clarification is going to mean that we're going to have that specific rule language to point to, and hopefully that'll bring some consistency across the state, particularly on that refrigeration issue.
You mentioned our relationship with ODA. How has Farm Bureau been involved with this new license?
Well, this is a great example of working with the regulatory agency on issues over the years and how they can respond through rulemaking. So, many people may not realize that every rule goes through what's called a 5-year rule review. And we were really excited to see this proposal come through in the 5-year rule review because, as I said, we've talked about this issue a number of times. I think we were the only stakeholder that actually commented. We had a few other language issues that we wanted to address, and they did address those changes as well in the rule, and we were able to provide support for this possibility of having that lower risk license, lowering the cost, which is great always, but particularly when you think about direct marketing and new and beginning farmers, that can really help people enter into agriculture a little easier if their costs are a little bit lower. And then providing consistency on an issue that's just a major issue we've dealt with for a number of years of trying to have consistency in these inspections across the state. So we're really glad that this made it through the rulemaking process, and it's not going to be a reality for our members to have this opportunity.
We've seen direct marketers in Ohio agriculture double between 2017 and 2022. This another tool for the toolbox. Leah Curtis, she's policy counsel with Ohio Farm Bureau for this Legal with Leah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.